So in this video, we're going to take a quick look at the working bibliography assignment, the requirements for it. Now, this is an assignment we'll spend the next 2 weeks working on. The final draft will be due midnight, April 6th. So let me begin by explaining what a working bibliography is. So a working bibliography lists all the sources that might be used in a research project. It's a working document in two ways. First, as you do your research, the list expands each time you find a potentially useful source. It contracts each time you omit a source that turns out to be less relevant than you anticipated. And secondly, once you've written your essay or paper, the working bibliography evolves one last time. You remove all the sources you didn't use and then use the sources that end up in the paper as the basis of your works cited list in the final paper. So in this assignment, you'll compile a working bibliography of appropriate and reliable sources, both scholarly and popular, that explore a research question specifically assigned to you. Now, this research question was sent to you via email, so be sure that you locate that email and your question before you begin doing the research. You'll utilize the several resources available to you through the RCC James Library, as well as Google for part of it. Note, you will not be required to write a paper using this research question. Now, some of you may find that the question is interesting and you've located all these good sources and you want to use that topic as the basis of your position paper. That's fine. That's an assignment we'll work on through most of April. But you're not required to use this topic for that or any other assignment, except as the research question for the working bibliography assignment. So let's take a look at the requirements of the assignment. Now, the first item in the working bibliography will be the research question. Then you'll have three categories of assignment of articles: popular articles, scholarly articles, ebooks, books, and ebooks. So there'll be three sections, and within each of those sections, you'll include examples from each of these categories. So the full working bibliography includes 20 suitable sources. This includes a minimum of 5 popular sources. Those are sources from print or online magazines primarily. 5 scholarly sources. These are peer-reviewed articles that appear in academic journals that sort of specialize in specific academic pursuits or disciplines. And then 5 books or ebooks. Now, next week, we'll concentrate on compiling the scholarly sources and the books and ebooks. So I'll talk more about locating, evaluating, citing them next week. This week we're going to concentrate on finding those popular sources. For most of you, to come up with that number of 20, you'll probably have more of the popular sources than the other two categories, but we'll see how that works out. You'll include only works that are available in print or in HTML full text or PDF. So it doesn't do you much good to find an article just knowing that the title is out there. It's important that you're able to access the full text of that work. And you should include only works published in or after 2014, let's say. You don't want to go too far back in time because in many disciplines, let's say medicine, some fields of science, even finance, information becomes dated very quickly. So within each category, the bibliographic entries must be alphabetized by authors' last names, use hanging indents, quotation marks, italics correctly. Everything should be 12-point Times New Roman, and everything should be double-spaced. We'll take a minute at the end of this video and look at a sample working bibliography formatted correctly. So 2 important reminders. Your working bibliography must show that you have located a variety of sources and have used a variety of resources. This is an individual assignment. Identical bibliographies will arouse my suspicion, but in this particular case, each of you are working on an individual topic, so that should not be an issue. You're responsible also for creating an absolutely perfectly correct MLA 8th edition citation for each work. So you don't simply paste the citation created in a database or a citation builder without carefully checking it for correctness and completeness. Now, next week when we look at using ProQuest and other databases where this tool is very useful to you, we'll talk more about that, converting their kind of raw citations into the ones that will go in your paper. Also included in this document, and this is in your Moodle as well, is the rubric that will be used to grade it. Okay. Now, let's take a second and look at a sample bibliography. Again, the top part of this will be the same as we've seen before. The kind of page number inserted up here. And on the first page, your name, my name, the course, the date. Then you center the working bibliography, and then comes the research question. So here, the research question for these sources are: should Americans pursue adoptions from countries with known adoption regulation abuses? All right. Now, here are the popular sources. So these come from sources like U.S. Catholic, magazine, Psychology Today, a magazine, World, which is a website, Democracy, another website, The Atlantic, popular magazine, CNN, the webpage for the cable news network. So those are some examples then of popular sources, and here are the citations. Now, there's a later video from this week that goes over each of the core elements of an MLA citation: the name, article name, publication, date, including the URL, and then the access date. But you can also use these, as well as the samples in the MLA section of Little Seagull, as models to follow. In this particular one, the scholarly sources come next. These come from some academic journals: Contemporary Psychology, there's Revista de Ciência Política, I think that's Portuguese. This is an English translation of that. What else we have? The Journal of Immigrant Health, Journal of Psychosocial Nursing and Mental Health, Social Work. So these are academic journals for those various disciplines. In the later video this week, I'll talk about how to include this DOI number if you encounter that. And we'll also talk about that next week as well. So again, the scholarly sources we'll discuss. You'll be probably compiling those next week. For books and ebooks, here are some examples of those as well. So we'll go over a few of the details about these later. But at least as far as formatting it, you can follow this format: popular sources, scholarly sources, ebooks, and books. Or you can do books first, since that makes maybe more sense alphabetically. Okay, so that's an overview of the assignment. Remember, we're going to work on the popular sources this week, the other two next week. Final version of this due April 6th. Thanks.